I guess that would be the question. Are we now headed for war? I don't know. Maybe the politicians of America would like to have war. What do you guys think? For multiple reasons. War checks all the boxes, doesn't it? A banking collapse, banking liquidity issues. It would also be very good for a lot of politicians to get war on the front cover and Epstein off the front cover. Maybe it's a wag the dog opportunity for everybody, parties, both parties. Are you watching this whole Epstein thing any at all? Do you care? I think you do care because I think we care about children, right? Now, I haven't immersed myself in it. I just see whatever they throw out there on X, some of it. And it's all very disturbing at the highest of levels, is it not? And I think Mike Benz had a great comment recently related to this whole thing. And that is, we need Congress to pass some legislation that requires the CIA to give up everything they have on Jeffrey Epstein and that they ever had and when they knew about him. And the FBI should be forced to do the same, although I guess they're going to claim there's an ongoing investigation. But certainly the CIA, just like they did and they're supposed to be doing with the JFK files. It's very interesting that there seems to be evidence that maybe this was also the KGB. This is former Soviet Union, Russia involved. You hear all the talks about it's the Jews, it's Israel, it's Mossad. Well, you know what? There seems to be a lot of involvement with our own FBI, being told about this decades ago, and they didn't want to do anything. Likely our own CIA, and maybe Russia. The question is, how many people was this guy working for? Was he just a general contractor to get dirt on people and control them? Is this why? And it's so interesting. And you go back into our records and our files of this radio broadcast so many years ago, when I kept talking about the fact, if you guys knew how many of our politicians were caught in pictures and videos, and that's being used to control them, that kind of talk on this broadcast so many years ago was not because Epstein was in the news. It was long before that. And I'm sure many people thought, oh, that's conspiracy. That's kind of over the top. There is hardly a member of the House of Representatives or the Senate that is not controlled, either through bribes, money, or honeypots. And by the way, you can find members of Congress in the last few years saying that the vast majority are controlled. And then you wonder why nothing really ever gets done. So it is time for the CIA to tell us what they knew, when they found out about it, how much they knew. Because I think this thing with Epstein goes very deep and it involves all parties. But of course, the bottom line is the children in America. And then that brings us to the 145,000 children that thankfully have reportedly now been found under the Trump administration. Thank you, President Trump. Thank you, Tom Homan. He has announced 145,000 children that were unaccompanied minors brought over here to the U.S. and given to people that should have never had these children, people these children did not know. Tara Rodis, a whistleblower with the HHS, has been on my show for several years now talking about this. Now 145,000 have so far been found. Why is it that it seems as though our government at the highest levels has no problem with the trafficking of children? Maybe it's because many of them have been involved in this for decades already. I was having a conversation with a couple people over the last 24 hours, and I said, you know, when you think about the true state of our nation at our local, state, and federal level, you really realize how corrupt the system has become. We talk all the time about drain the swamp, as though the problems are in Washington, D.C. only. The moral rot is in our local communities. It's at the local level and the state level. You think about the fact that today you have police detectives, and they may be indeed fine, upstanding people just doing their job, but you have police detectives running around today investigating people, deservedly so or not, depends on the situation one could discuss. But you have detectives running around flashing their badges and investigating people for all kinds of crimes. You have prosecutors prosecuting cases for all kinds of crimes. You have judges making decisions and rendering verdicts with juries, and sometimes just judges making those decisions from the bench. And yet, when you really think about it, the whole system from your local level to state level to the federal government is all built upon crime, fraud. Fraud. The system is rife with fraud, stealing, theft. Now, I did not understand how vast this was until I began to interview Mitch Wexler. And any of you can go to his program or his website, which is, mockingbirdproperties.com. But I want to give you the back end / help me guys, DCAD. Mockingbird Properties / D as in dog, C as in cat, A as in apple, D as in dog. And we've interviewed him now several times. He has cases before various courts, including one before the Texas Supreme Court. He has an amicus brief to the Supreme Court of Texas. And this is a man who has built homes and condos and apartment buildings, and began to understand that the system is all based, he says, on fraud, bond fraud. And when you think about bond fraud and how bonds are used to fund schools, but also your local government, what it really means, if you take it down to the very brass tacks, is that your police, your local prosecutors, all of the infrastructure of any city or town supported through bond initiatives is likely and overwhelmingly probability is based on fraud. So even those who are out conducting investigations and hearings and prosecutions and court hearings, these people think they're seeking justice, and maybe some of them are, and maybe some of them are very well intentioned, but have they bothered to look inwardly? Have they bothered to understand that here they are prosecuting people, rightly or wrongly, for fraud, but indeed their own livelihood and paycheck comes from fraud? Then if they do know this, they are willingly now, without complaining about it, warning the public, marshaling citizens and law enforcement to bring it to the legislature, city council, the county commission, they then themselves now are willingly participating and knowingly participating in a fraudulent enterprise. How many of your police departments would be shocked to find out, hey, you guys know your paychecks probably come from fraud? You're funded through fraud. You're out here busting criminals at the street level, but where are the really, really high-end criminals, folks? Are they in your local government? Are the real high-end criminals, white-collar criminals in your local government, your school districts, your state governments? Because they have been told that most of these, according to Mockingbird Properties, / CDAD, DCAD, mockingbirdproperties.com / DCAD. All the documentation and the interviews I've done seems to point to what Mitch is saying. They put out school bonds to fund the schools, and they put out city bonds to fund municipalities and functions of a town or city. And then they have to put out more bonds to pay more of the interest on the bonds already out there, and they can never seem to catch up and repay the initial. And so they put out more to pay what's already due. Isn't that the very definition of a Ponzi scheme? Now, why do I mention all this? Before we go to Aaron, the reason I bring all of this up is because at some point, the system starts protecting itself for self-preservation. And those who are on the take, be they politicians or your local prosecutor or your police department or sheriff departments, depending on how these things are funded through county or city or town bonds, the system protects the system. And if you're part of the system and you're benefiting from the system, do you really care? No, you just want your next paycheck, by and large, most of them. They're just counting down till they can get their 20 years in and get their pension and get out of government or the police department or the sheriff department. I dare say, if you were to bring this information and do your own research in your own community to your local police department and call up a police detective and say, I'm finding fraud at the local level with bonds and school bonds and municipal bonds, would you investigate this? My guess is you would get a look like a new calf standing at a gate. And of course, if they dared to look into it, they wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole after they figured out what they were looking at, because they know that would be probably the end of their career. They would be told, if they tried to push forward, probably sit down, be quiet. The system protects itself. And at the end of the day, Mitch Wexler is saying this is a $17 trillion Ponzi scheme. $17 trillion. He said we'll make the 2008 crisis look like a Sunday school pic. And when these things around us begin to collapse, should we be here when it happens? Watch how many people say, well, I knew nothing about it. I knew nothing about it. Don't believe them. There is more than ample evidence now that a lot of your local officials know about this because of the work that Mitch is doing far and wide and the court filings. The other devastating thing is the people that will lose a lot who were innocent local citizens just simply buying a bond, get a good return, and offer some capital for services in their community. It's always the little guy that gets destroyed. And then watch how the liberals take advantage of this to say, you see, we told you the free market system was crooked. This isn't the free market system. This is corporatism. The dollar is dying. It's going down, and inflation is soaring. Are you prepared to lose through inflation your life saving, your purchasing power? I don't think you have to. I would urge you to go right now to worldviewgold.com. Worldviewgold.com. Get the free packet of information available, because you know what? I've been working with this company for about 17 years, and I trust them. Now, look, I don't give financial advice. I give financial opinion. And my opinion is you should do your own homework and your own due diligence. And I think that starts with getting the free, no obligation packet of information on how to put gold into your IRA, how to acquire physical gold or silver, or what is known as numismatic, 1933 and older. Education is crucial, and it starts with this free packet at worldviewgold.com, worldviewgold.com, or 1-877-864-1072, 1-877-864-1072, worldviewgold.com. All right, welcome back. As gold pops back up, $4,947 an ounce at this time, silver at $87.08. And the beat goes on. As more and more are warning, like Peter Schiff, The dollar is going to collapse. The dollar is going to be replaced by gold. We are headed for an economic crisis that will make the 2008 financial crisis seem like a Sunday school picnic, end quote. I've already used that line today myself, haven't I? What are all these municipalities going to do when the system collapses and they've got all of these bonds and interest to pay? That you just destroy the little people? You destroy mom and pop? Destroy retirees? Do you start nationalizing things left and right? Ray Dalio, he has said that gold will be the world's new currency to replace the fiat currency. Quote, it's the beginning of the end of the monetary system as we know it, which is why gold is being chosen by the central banks, end quote. And yet I wonder how many of these people know about what is said to be $17 trillion in bond fraud. Can you imagine when this all starts to go? From the bond fraud to the derivatives that are held by banks, that some banks, I'm told, are holding derivatives that are greater than the global GDP. Derivatives are even hard to explain. Warren Buffett had a hard time even explaining what they were. But they're wrapped up in these banks, many of them. He referred to them, I think, as a financial weapon of destruction. And, you know, the thing that we really learned by listening to some of the polling this week from Mark Mitchell is how many young people want retribution on a corrupt system. And it is corrupt. And these folks don't even know. These young people don't even know about $17 trillion in bond fraud. Most of these young people don't understand derivatives. Can you imagine when this all comes crashing down and it's all blamed on the free market system? Oh, see, capitalism. And yet, of course, we know this isn't capitalism. Can you imagine what the people in the streets are going to be calling for? What they're going to be willing to accept? Because they just want a solution and some restitution for their loss. What they will trade away for a bowl of soup. But I got to thinking about that last night and this morning. Did you ever think you would live in a country or come to realize you live in a country, as much as you want to be, of course, patriotic and proud of your history as a nation and a people where you're, supposed to be proud? But did you ever think you'd come to the realization that there's very little in the country that isn't based on fraud and a lie? Did you ever think that someone would say to you, even your local law enforcement is benefiting from fraud? Overwhelmingly, the odds are, if they're funding them through these bonds, your own local law enforcement is being benefited and enriched from fraud, taking advantage of the taxpayers. And that this value of your home is set by a central, what's it called? A central appraisal district. And this, Mitch Vexler says, the central appraisal district is put together by the school district. And when the school district needs more money, they just tell the central appraisal district, this is how much we need. And then they go figure out how many homes they have and set the property values going up by X percent, which is a very easily written computer program could tell you what that is based on zip codes. And pretty soon, here's the value of your home that comes in the mail. And thus now here's your new evaluated property tax. How many Americans know what I just said? If you didn't listen to broadcasts like this one, you wouldn't learn this. And if I weren't listening to all kinds of other programs out there trying to learn from what other people are learning, I wouldn't know this. I'm also here to tell you, I don't give financial advice, I give financial opinion. But we're talking about the decline of the dollar. And the decline of the dollar is going to start impacting these bonds, purchasing power of local municipalities. It's going to start impacting these banks and the derivatives. And when it starts to slide, it will be an avalanche. The question is, will you be buried in this coming avalanche? When it will occur, I don't know. But even a little firecracker could be the tipping point for the avalanche to begin. Will you be buried by it? Or have you been warned and now you have been taking the necessary steps to get out of harm's way as much as possible? We're going to continue on this topic because it does appear as though we are in a spot where we are at the end. And I don't know if that is this year or if that is next year. But I will say this, a good world war or any war, a Middle Eastern war, a good war in conflict can check all the boxes. I also find it interesting that President Trump has put together this international peace board, which sounds more like the UN. And he said, there's pretty much nothing we can't do and we'll work alongside the UN. Now we got Martin Armstrong, who runs computer models. He puts models into his computer with parameters, and the computer models begin to spit out what's likely to happen. And he's saying his current computer model is saying there will be the end of the United Nations by 2031. What's going to replace it? Whew, the stage is set, isn't it? For Bible prophecy to be fulfilled. Let's go to our reporter on the ground in Israel as we have breaking news. Aaron Lavarco, brought to you by our foundation, worldviewfoundation.com, worldviewfoundation.com. Aaron, we have breaking news out of the Middle East. President Trump has just said what?
He has just said that the Iranian supreme leader, and I quote, should be very worried. And this has come on the back of literally about a half an hour ago, reports of a complete breakdown in the proposed negotiations set for this coming Friday. They were supposed to be held in Turkey, but the Iranians have requested it be transferred to Oman, and the Americans agreed with that. But the Iranians are backing down. They are not coming to the table. The pressure from the Americans on the topics to be discussed. The topics to be discussed were made very clear that they would be not only the disarmament of nuclear weapons and the degrading of the uranium enrichment, but also to discuss the issue of ballistic missiles and their range capacity. Also, the issue of the protesters. The handling of the protesters is a major issue. We know that. We know that right at the beginning, Donald Trump said when the protesters went out on the streets, that if anyone is killed, we will come to their aid. Well, the American fleet, the American Air Force, they are here. They have come. Donald Trump is giving the supreme leader chance after chance. This seems to be the very last chance he's giving them. Now, why is he doing that? He's doing it because he really doesn't want war. And I think we know President Trump by now. He's not a man of war. But in order to stop war, he has made steps, and that means pulling the trigger, dropping a bomb. So he will do it if he needs to, but he's trying every effort, every avenue possible. Another suggestion I read today is his midterm, what do you call it? The midterm
elections.
Yeah, midterm elections coming up, and he doesn't want him to be looked upon as someone, a man of war, or maybe to be in the middle of a war when that happens. These are
although politically wartime presidents do better because people don't like to change horses in midstream in a conflict, apparently.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay. Well,
now, I don't know what the climate would be for that when it comes to midterm elections, but that's the case with presidential elections. A lot of presidential elections, if they're involved in a war that the people have gotten behind through reality or propaganda, it stirs up their nationalistic fervor, and they tend to stay with that man.
Well, it's interesting. The article I read about this concern was aimed at the young people, that the young people may not like President Trump taking your country to war during the midterm elections. It was aimed at the young people. They may not like it. So, yeah, this is where we've been talking probably the last month, 6 weeks, about a countdown. We've been talking about us here in Israel being on alert. We're still on very, very high alert. It's kind of almost like waiting for the captives to come home. It's a grinding, sense of waiting game, waiting. One of the hardest things to do in war. In fact, when I served in the army here, one of the hardest things in our training was actually doing nothing, because you're just standing around waiting. It's very, very difficult to just wait. So that's where our nation's at. The bomb shelters are all open. The underground first aid service rooms, the blood banks, they're all open, and we're waiting for something to happen. By the way, Benjamin Netanyahu told Mr. Witkoff, who has just finished his meeting with our Prime Minister, with our Chief of Staff, with our Defense Minister, he said if America are not going to go ahead, he wasn't saying it to put pressure on America. He was basically saying we are prepared to go at Iran by ourselves. Quite a bold statement. Maybe it was a statement to put pressure on the Americans. Maybe it was a statement to put fear into the Iranians. A lot of psychological warfare already going on.
Hold right there. Hard break. We'll be right back. More from our reporter on the ground, Aaron Labarco. Don't go away.
News is moving faster than ever, and so are we. Worldview Tube brings you 24/7 live stream coverage, and now, real-time alerts when it matters most. Once you have the Worldview Tube app installed, exit the app and navigate your way to Settings. In Settings, locate the tab labeled Notifications. Select the Notifications tab. Scroll down until you locate the Worldview Tube app icon. Select the tab, and here you can turn on and customize your notification experience for the Worldview Tube app. News doesn't wait, and neither should you. Turn on push notifications to stay informed. Every headline as it happens.
You're watching Worldview 2, built on the 35 years of Worldview books, documentaries, research, high-profile interviews, and the radio and television broadcasts of Brannon House.
Welcome back. Glad you're with us. Worldview Radio, our website, worldviewradio.com, worldviewradio.com. And be sure to stay tuned for Crosstalk with Jim Schneider, top of the hour, 2 p.m. Central, on this terrestrial station of the VCY network. unless you're WROS out of Jacksonville, Florida. And you can hear VCY at vcy.org as well, vcy.org. America's original Christian talk program since the 1970s. Crosstalk with your host, Jim Schneider, on over 100 outlets nationwide. Joining me is our reporter on the ground in Israel, Aaron Navarco, brought to you by our foundation. We send him regular love offerings for his reports and his tour videos of Israel, worldviewfoundation.com, worldviewfoundation.com. And by the way, he is telling me now he's turned in a few more videos and he has more coming. So about every week, we're pushing out new videos by our licensed tour guide and reporter in Israel, Aaron Navarco. So we'll continue to bring those to you and post those at worldviewtube.com for all of you to enjoy as part of our ministry broadcast, brought to you in part by our foundation, worldviewfoundation.com. Aaron, so you're reporting here that your country may go it alone. But now, why is it your country is deciding this is so pressing, we're going it alone if we have to? Obviously, you guys must have intelligence that Iran is continuing to multiply their nuclear enrichment and put, perhaps I'm hearing, more and more nuclear warheads on missiles, correct?
Correct, Brandon. And this is our concern. Actually, one of the major concerns why we are talking about perhaps going it alone is I just got an update now by an Iranian member of the parliament is appealing to the foreign minister of Iran by saying, we expect a preemptive attack on the enemy. And I think he's talking about Israel. This is our main concern, that there could, and again, the key word you used was intelligence. The Mossad was part of the talks with Witkoff today. And so, yeah, there's obviously things that are behind the scenes that we don't know about. And one of them could be that there's intelligence saying that the Iranians are planning a preemptive strike. For the viewers' information, if they don't know, in the last 2 days, the Iranians have been sending drones out towards the aircraft carrier Abraham Lincoln. They are not intimidated. Now, either they've got something up their sleeve, Brandon, or they are wooing. They are wooing the Americans to attack. It's almost like they've got a death wish. Now, I know that there are some people that would say that this could have something to do with their theology, because according to Islamic theology, in time Islamic theology, they believe in a theology called the 12th Imam, where basically what that is they believe that from the time of Muhammad, when he died, there were 11 successors, caliphs, and when the 12th successor was alive in the 12th century, he mysteriously disappeared. They don't know where he went to. They believe he will one day return. But before he returns, there must be chaos, dilemmas, problems.
So their eschatology could be driving a lot of this. We just got video footage. Dalton, can you keep your finger on the dump button? Because we're getting video and audio from President Trump on this, and sometimes we don't know what he's going to say. So I want to give a heads up in case there's a curse word that comes in, you can dump it. Is that good? Is that good, Dalton?
Ready.
All right. Thank you, Dalton. Okay, here we go. President Trump today from just minutes ago from the Oval Office. Oh, let me grab it. Are we good, guys? You ready? Nope,
Should the supreme leader in Iran be worried right now?
I would say he should be very worried, yeah. He should be. As you know, they're negotiating with us.
I know they are, but the protest.
Okay, so there's the audio that they should be worried. Again, same goes with this video, guys. Marco Rubio, to his credit, he seems oftentimes to be extremely professional in his decorum and his speech, which I always appreciate about him. I don't know what he's going to say here. So again, keep your finger on the dump button, but he's not prone to that normally. But here is our Secretary of State making a comment on Iran.
The fundamental problem Iran faces and the regime faces right now is that what people are on the streets complaining about, this regime cannot address. They cannot address it because it's economic. Those problems remain. And one of the reasons why the Iranian regime cannot provide the people of Iran the quality of life that they deserve is because they're spending all their money, they're spending all their resources of what is a rich country, sponsoring terrorism, sponsoring all these proxy groups around the world, exporting, as they call it, their revolution. But I remind everybody what I've been saying through my entire career in public service. I said it in my hearing when I was asking for confirmation through the Senate. The Iranian people and the Iranian regime are very unalike. In essence, what the Iranian people want, this is a culture with a deep history. These are people that are the leadership of Iran at the clerical level does not reflect the people of Iran. I know of no other country where there's a bigger difference between the people that lead the country and the people who live there. And so our hope resides in that. As far as the president's views on the way protesters were treated, he was very clear about it. And as you saw, part of what the president said publicly prevented mass executions that were being planned and that we're on the precipice of. And obviously beyond that, the president retains a number of options to how he responds to that and future events. But as far as the talks are concerned, I think the Iranians had agreed to a certain format. For whatever reason, it's changed in their system or what have you. We'll see if we can get back to the right place. But
not going well. Of course, the mass executions happened. We got 30,000 dead, I think, by the regime's own number. Now we're reading that they were going into those cells and apparently injecting the people they had arrested with some kind of shot that hastened their death.
Brendan, I'm hearing numbers of over 80,000.
Are you serious? Over 80,000?
Yes, and they're by senior officials in places like hospitals, morgues, based on death bags, based on hospital files. The latest I heard was about 86,000. Not to mention wounded, not to mention people being blinded, and again, the wounded. It's atrocious. And also we're talking about women who have been taken as sex slaves to be humiliated, and tortured, people being tortured. So I think the numbers are a lot higher than where. Well, as I say, I've heard more than one source. The numbers beyond 80,000. I hope it's. I'm very inclined to believe that they're accurate based on the people who were giving these reports.
And by the way, we're also getting reports from the Jerusalem Post today that Iran is still deeply entrenched in Europe, and that the IRGC is still deeply entrenched in Europe.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I just got a report today that the Houthis in the south, they have been severely rearmed, and they are waiting to launch new attacks in the Straits of Hormuz toward Israel. This is one of Iran's key proxies. And of course, Hamas are raging, Brennan. They've been given a new lease of life. Our defense minister today, he wants to go in. He wants to go and finish them off. This is one big problem that Donald Trump and all of his committee have not been able to solve yet. I talked about this with you the other day. No one has been able to disarm Hamas. They are not going to disarm as well. So there are calls among the public to our military, go in. Daily, we're getting attacks. We're getting terrorists trying to infiltrate, crossing the border. Thankfully, our security have really been on the ball. We eliminated a top leader, a top military leader of Hamas today. So we're doing the work, but there's still a lot of work to be done, and especially as phase 2 in the rebuilding of Gaza goes. You know, people are talking about this technocratic new government that are already starting to operate, while Hamas are not part of that group of leaders. People are saying they are going to be like a shadow government and a shadow military. They're not going to be in the front line, but they are there in the shadows. This is a big concern. We know a lot of the Palestinian technocrats who are on that committee. They've had years of involvement with Hamas. Donald Trump must know this as well. These are just a few of the major concerns that we have. As Donald Trump's son-in-law Kushner was saying, we're going to give something new a chance. We're going to give something new a try. Good for you. But as long as it's not at our expense.
Well, it is at your expense. And here's the headline. Let me give out the phone number, by the way, first. 1-800-347-9829. Phone lines open. Your thoughts, your comments, your questions on any of this. 1-800-347-9829. Before I get back to that article, one of our astute listeners just sent me this that is dated January 13th, 2026. South Dakota town hit by 1,500% increase in property values. Recent housing and land sales in, I don't know how you say that, Mellette County, M-E-L-L-E-T-T-A, have county officials alerting residents about rising assessed land values. Their director of equalization told taxpayers in a December 29th, 2025 letter she will have to increase assessed values in town of Wood, South Dakota by 1,500%. Isn't that something, folks? Goes to the point we're trying to make. All right, 1-800-347-9829. While you're getting on board, your thoughts, your comments, your questions. Here's an article over at the Gatestone. The Trump administration's delusional Gaza master plan. Some of the bullet points. If Hamas does agree to surrender some of its weapons as part of a facade to appease Trump, the terror group will undoubtedly continue to keep or replace as many as possible to maintain a military, political, and security presence in the Gaza Strip. Hamas is not worried about the newly established Palestinian Technocratic Committee that's supposed to govern the Gaza Strip. The committee does not pose a direct threat to the terror group. The committee is primarily tasked with managing civilian affairs, delivering essential services such as water, electricity, healthcare, and education, and rebuilding infrastructure. Security will remain in the hands of Gaza. Building skyscrapers at an airport in the Gaza Strip will not change the Palestinians' view on Israel. The Palestinians are not going to give up the right of return because of foreign investment in the Gaza Strip. Hamas is not going to recognize Israel's right to exist or give up its jihad against the Zionist entity because of new homes, luxury apartments, or tourist resorts. The only way to change the hearts of and minds of the Palestinians is through a deep and thorough process of re-education and actual serious pressure for once from the outside world. Phone lines open. We'll be right back.
Introducing the Sentry Wellness System, the ultimate undersink water treatment solution designed with you in mind. Say goodbye to harmful toxins and hello to water enriched with essential nutrients like calcium and magnesium. Enjoy the benefits of increased pH for on-demand alkalinity. All from a zero-waste system that fits seamlessly into your home. Installation is a breeze, taking just 15 minutes, so you can have clean, healthy, great-tasting water straight from your tap. Perfect for apartments, homes, rentals, and even RVs. Elevate your hydration and well-being with the Sentry Wellness System because you deserve the best in every drop.
Sentry H2O. Tap into wellness.
All right, guys. There we go. wow. Okay. 1-800-347-9829, 1-800-347-9829. I want to go right at the phone lines real quick, as fast as I can. But Aaron, you also have more breaking news from Israel. Tell me, please.
The latest I just got, Brennan, the Iranian chief of staff says, and I quote, "We have just changed our military ideology from defense to offense." What's he saying? He's saying action station, get ready to attack. And I was talking about this 10 minutes ago, that our concern is that there may be a preemptive strike from the Iranians on us. So, if you and I have heard this threat, no doubt our top military leaders, and maybe they will do a preemptive strike. So we've been saying this for a few weeks now. It could be any moment. And I say the same. It could be any moment.
Let's go to the phone lines. Christine, line 1. Christine, thanks for calling in.
Hi. I care so much about what's happening with Iran, but it seems like our leadership never will understand Islam. We've tried for decades. I mean, Phil Haney, even someone like Sarah Adams. Okay, but this is why I really called. The thing with Mitch Wexler and the property tax, I emailed him months ago, and I'd like to know what I can do. I'm very involved here in my little corrupt city of Racine, Wisconsin, and oh boy, is it corrupt. I want to know what I can get to my common council.
Well, and I don't know if he responded, but he is so slammed with emails and work and research. I'm inviting him back on my Brandon House Live program for an update. I know one of the things he's trying to do, Christine, is make it so that community members can get together and file class action lawsuits against their towns or cities. So he's trying to put that framework together so folks can begin these class action lawsuits all over the country. So let me interview him again here in the next 24 to 48 hours for Brandon House Live. Let's see if he's got that done yet. I know he was working on a link to help people with that. Thank you, Christine. Let's go to Larry in Florida, line 2. Hi, Larry. Thanks for calling in.
Hi. Thank you for your updates, and I praise the Lord for your insights. Also, I'm praying for the peace of Jerusalem. And if the Lord wills, I'm going to Israel this spring, and I wanted to know how to get in contact with Brother Aaron.
Just go to lighttothenationsministry.com and send him an email. Lighttothenationsministry.com, send him an email, and I'm sure he'll be glad to meet up with you.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you, Larry. Let's go to line 4. Jesus, line 4 in Arizona. Hello, Jesus.
Hello, sir. Thank you for taking my phone call. And my prayer and intercession request is for our great state of Arizona. Just like you were saying, they're planning a Qatari city to be built next to the TMC Taiwan factory chip in all that land there. And a few members of our Congress, like Andy Biggs, and a few of them are trying to stop this bill. And they're being funded by the Qatari Islamic Bank. And we need to pray and intercede that God will stop that.
Oh, so glad you called in. Where in Arizona is this again? Remind me. Jesus?
Supposedly, it will be next to the TMC Taiwan chip factory that was built under President Joe Biden.
Okay. Thank you so much. We're going to keep on this one here. We reported on this last night, and we showed the plans even. What is Qatar City in Phoenix? GOP posts about it. Posts about it are going viral, is one article. So we were reporting on that last night. I know our gal Annie Cyrus has been reporting on that quite a bit. I mean, Qatar's just taking over our country. The Islamists, Saudi Arabia, all of them. They're just taking over America, Aaron. And the foolish Americans are largely asleep. And they don't seem to wake up until the attack is on top of them, right? They should have been being trained and organized. And now they're all going to have to try to play catch up as to what is this worldview of Islam about.
Yeah, that's right. Actually, I read just today, Brennan, Qatar are starting to send money to Israel, not only to Islamic places, but to Christian places who have replacement theology, beliefs. So they are trying to infiltrate here as well.
All right, let's go back to the phone lines. Let's see who we got next here. Let's go to Drew in Michigan, line 1. Hi, Drew.
Hey, Brandon, how are we doing today?
Great, Drew. Thank you.
I wanted to just sort of commend you for the work you're doing. The radio shows the last couple of days about the intergenerational conflict and how it's being orchestrated, I think, is one of the most important issues. And surprise, surprise, Brandon House is the first person that I've heard covering it. And you're like a dog with a bone with it. And I just thank you, because there's so much hate festering between the two generations, and just them learning that it has been orchestrated and it is by design is something that can bring a lot of healing to the world. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Drew. Thank you, Drew. Brad, line 2. Brad from Wisconsin. Go ahead, Brad.
Hi, Brandon.
Hey, Brad.
Did I hear you right? Did you say that education was the remedy for what the Muslims are doing in Gaza, violating the treaty?
The writer was saying, the writer, not me, the writer at Gatestone said the way to change the hearts and minds of the Palestinians is through deep and thorough process of re-education and actual serious pressure for once from the outside world. This requires brave, strong, and pragmatic leadership, both from the Palestinians and the international community, an attribute that unfortunately does not seem to exist.
That sounds like a cluster flop to me. I think the president's remedy is better. He told Bibi, from what I understand, that if the Muslims do not go along with the treaty, if they don't disarm, etc., clean up the mess. That's all it is, a mess in there.
So what you're saying, Brad, is if Hamas is not going to abide by the process, which they're not, they didn't even abide by the process of phase 1, but voila, let's reward terrorists and move to phase 2 and promise them buildings and houses and all kinds of great stuff. But the process should be, why didn't we just let Israel finish killing every last one of those dogs?
Bingo. They're nothing but trouble. And all this peace thing, like, oh, it's a treaty, okay? And they're violating it. And even if they weren't, it's just another ceasefire.
Can you imagine, Brad, if Islamists were to murder 1,200 Americans, cut off the feet of babies, cut off women's breasts, gang rape them, burn them alive, behead them, slit their throats, and then our government says, oh, you know what? I think we'll build them a Guitar City in Arizona if you guys just play nice. Do you think a lot of American men would go along with that if the UN or another country started telling us how to behave? I can promise you there'd be a lot of Americans that would go to war and wipe every last one of those dogs off the planet. But yet we somehow think on our moral high horse, we should be restraining Israel. I think at some point we are actually Israel's worst partner. Take care.
This has been Worldview.
Welcome back. Glad you're with us. And, you know, I'm going to come back with that. At some level, I have to wonder if America, at the end of the day, isn't Israel's worst enemy. Are we not your worst enemy? What would you prefer, an enemy that tells you the truth and what they're going to do to you? Or a so-called friend who stabs you in the back continually and ties your hand from being able to defeat and eliminate the one trying to rape your daughter and granddaughter? Who do you think is the bigger threat to you? I'm beginning to think America is a really big threat to Israel. And that might be why America is on the verge of one collapse after another, and we deserve every bit of what we're about to get. We do. We deserve it. America, by and large, is made up of crooked, perverted, pedophile leadership that cares only about themselves, enriching themselves, their special interest groups, the military-industrial complex. They don't care about their own citizens. Why should we think that they would care one whit about you Israelis, Aaron?
It's a tough topic, Brandon, because America do so much for us and help us so much. So it's very hard for us, number one, to criticize. And number two, you know, in the scriptures, God says that we will be the head, not the tail. I don't think we're the head when it comes to our relationship with the United States. I think the United States are the head. Now, is that a good thing or is that a bad thing? That's what we're discussing.
I think it's a bad thing. I think you should be deciding your own nation's destiny, just as America should be deciding our own destiny. And when you say America has done a lot for you, well, you know what? Israel has done a lot for us. Okay, this is not, I get tired of this kind of lopsided thing, like somehow you guys need to lick our boots. You guys have done as much for us as we have for you, I would say, right? You guys give us a lot. I have guys had multiple stars on their shoulder, have told me how much intel you guys have given us over the years that have saved how many American lives, right? And then we can talk about all of the technology that your nation has developed that we use every day as a nation, including medical advancements, technology that allows for our national security. And of course, Donald Trump can say we created the Iron Dome, but that's not true. You guys created the Iron Dome. We're trying to create one, and I bet you we're using a lot of your technology to do it. So this idea that somehow the scales are not balanced, I'm tired of that. They're more than balanced. You guys don't owe us any kind of debt. But after all, it is your people that gave us the Bible and the Messiah. Okay? Hello, you win. If the scales are tipped one way, they're tipped up on your direction. Okay? You're the one who's been the most generous. You have dealt with generational persecution simply because you're Jews, but it's your people that gave us the Messiah and the Bible, minus one writer. So, you know what? The message needs to go forth. America owes you. You don't owe us.
Well, one of the big lessons we've learned in this war is that we've got to learn how to go it by ourselves. And we're preparing and planning that for the future, Brandon. Militarily, economically, even things like food. And by the way, our deal with Somaliland, just today I read that Somaliland have an incredible amount of natural resources, food, all kinds of chemicals and minerals and things under the ground. And they're saying Israel needs it, and we're here to make trade. So there's another avenue where we can learn to, in a way, wean ourselves off being so dependent on the United States. And you know, like I quoted earlier, Bibi said, if America aren't going to attack Iran, then we may have to go it ourselves.
Well,
So
you better wean yourself off us, because the Bible says that all the nations of the world will turn against Israel. And the last time I checked, all means the United States as well.
Yeah, I know. It's not a nice thought, but you know, this is where we're coming to that place where we're going to have to. And you know, Bibi, you know, even Donald Trump said recently in his relationship with Bibi, he said he's a tough player. He's a tough guy. And so he respects Bibi, and obviously Bibi's no pushover. He's not he's not a yes man. And I think we've seen a change in Bibi through this war. Trump has saved Bibi's political career a number of times. He's like a cat with many lives, and Trump has saved his political career big time. But on the other hand, Bibi has stood up. He's stepped up.
Well, he needs to. And by the way, sometimes people get saved in order to get the best deal and get Bibi to agree to let you guys take the Gaza and develop for a bunch of fat cats. So sometimes you're being saved so you can turn on and be used. Be careful of that. LightToTheNationsMinistry.com, brought to you by our foundation, WorldviewFoundation.com. Take care.
Colonel Rob Manus has a lifelong record of providing dedicated service to this nation. Having worked his way up from the enlisted ranks to full colonel, he served our country for more than 32 years. He has served as a bomber squadron commander, bomb disposal technician, Joint Chiefs of Staff operations officer, assisted the national security team with the